All right, welcome to the IKEN podcast. I'm Carl here with my brother Brian. Hey, Brian, I would ask you how you doing tonight, but based on last night, probably not too good.
Honestly, it's not more than I expected. Mika Parsons played amazing.
Yes,
The
absolutely.
offensive line didn't look as good. The play calling was a little bad, and the defense looked horrendous. I mean, everybody wants to put it on, Zach Wilson because he threw three interceptions at the end of the game. Two of those interceptions, one of them the receiver fell down, and the guy who was covering him is the one that snuck up and got the interception along the sideline. That was number one. That was the second interception, I believe it
Yep.
was. And the last one, when I watched it, it looked like Garrett Wilson, as he was running the play, did a little peek to see where the defender was. And instead of like he normally does, which is reach for the ball, he almost waited for the ball to get to him. And I think that allowed the defender to have a better shot at getting the ball. I think he was nervous about getting hit. If you watch that play again, he does a quick peek with his head as he's running, looking for the ball. He does like this to see where the defender is. And I think that sort of distracted him a little bit. But that was a throw up ball at the end of the game kind of thing to try to see if you can get something.
Yeah, by that point, the game was kind of over. My
Correct.
whole
I mean,
thing is, yeah, Zach Wilson needs work. I'm not going to fault him for this. I'm going to fault the O line with no protect. I mean, I know you're playing Dallas, but the way I look at it is the only difference between what would have been if is that it's Aaron Rodgers or it's Zach Wilson. So if this line is not protecting Zach Wilson, that means Aaron Rodgers was getting just as clobbered. Now he is smarter, probably getting ball. And there was some time Zach should have got rid of the ball and he didn't. But I
but
don't fault
really,
him.
but really, it was only when the game was out of the hand. And I love how people say, well, they should have given Brees Hall the ball more. Why? The guy got one carry for 9 yards, and the rest of it was negative or nil, and he had two missed catches. So he had, out of all the potentials for possession of a ball, he had six, right? Two targets, he had over two, and he had four carries for 9 yards. Okay. The highest person that had the most was Garrett Wilson, who had eight targets at him, and I think he had five or six catches. So he had eight potential himself possession of the ball. So two less than Garrett Wilson, who's our, should be one of our focal points of the offense. And then the next person equal to him was Conklin. They just didn't have the ball. But my biggest thing is not even the offense;
No, the
it's the
defense is
defense.
horrible.
So I
First of
was
all,
looking at it.
2 weeks in a row, the Jets can't tackle. What is that?
Well, this is the thing. This is why I got annoyed because Sauce Gardner decided to delete his Twitter account. Now everybody flipped out. Oh, look at that. He deleted his Twitter account, but he kept his Instagram up. It is what it is. Most athletes today are very sensitive and they don't want to deal, when everything's going well, they want all the praise, but when everything goes bad, they don't want to deal with any
Well,
negativity or anything like
wait,
that.
Sauce Gardner deletes his Twitter account. He's the guy out there saying he's the greatest cornerback to ever live. He's this, he's that, and then you go out there and you've shown really nothing,
Well, he
nothing in
actually
2 games.
he actually played well last game. They really avoided going to him. He had like I think
I
and
get
any
they're avoiding it, but when he had his chances, I mean, there were times where he just looks like he was standing around. He was arm
but that's his
tackling.
goal.
He
But
should have
that's not
picked
his
that
guy.
ball. That's his game.
The pick, you could say one thing, but that's not his. In that game, if you watch it, the plays where he looked like he was getting beat, that wasn't his guy. You saw him peel off of another guy to go for it to get the guy. My thing with Sauce or any of these players is that all right, defense is the strength of our team. So explain to me how they had on the very first series because the offense didn't even play yet, so you
Right.
can't blame the offense. How they let the Dallas Cowboys march 12 plays, 75 yards, had only one play that was negative, had the team at third and two, third and six, and third and goal, and gave up a touchdown. Is that the offense's fault?
Nope.
Okay, so the offense goes three and out. So now defense finally does something, does three and out against them. The offense goes six plays. One of them is the fake punt. I already have problems with it because those started off with three straight runs to Cook, a +3, +6, and 0 yards to get it 4th and 1, and that's when they did the fake punt. And then they went +9 to Hall, and then you could look at Wilson and say, you know what, you should have gotten that first down in those next two plays, or maybe they should have ran it again, but they decided to throw it the next time. Maybe that's the offensive coordinator's fault. But what
Yeah.
happens immediately after that? You have a 14 play, 78-yard drive by defense, led up by the defense, with a 3rd and 2, a 3rd and 1, a 3rd and 7, and a 3rd and 7 that they just gave up to give it to them. So that's a field goal. Then you have the Jets go three and out with pass, Hall +6 pass. That was a bad choice in things. We say run it. They should have maybe run it in the beginning. Then defense does well and punts it. Now the Jets score a touchdown on the next ensuing drive. They score a one-play touchdown to Garrett Wilson.
Yep.
What do you think? What does the defense do with that now 10-7 close game? What do you think they do in the next series?
I saw the game.
Yeah. They do a 13 play, 75-yard run. Now, out of those 13 plays, only 3 of them were ever third downs. And that was 3rd and 3, 3rd and 7, and 3rd and 13. And they still let up a TD. So
Yeah,
explain to
well,
me
the
how is
time
that?
of possession was ridiculous. I mean, I'm looking
Well,
at it here. It's 42 minutes for the Cowboys and 18, roughly just under 18 minutes for the Jets. I'm sorry, you're not going to win a game. Your defense is on the field too long. And I'm sorry, the
whoa, whoa,
defensive.
whoa.
Where's
That's the defensive fault.
where's the defensive line? Where are we getting We got no pressure on the quarterback whatsoever.
But
None.
this is all before the first half. This is when the score is still within hand, 10-7. And what does it now do? The defense has now only played 4 series, 2 3-and-outs, and a total of 26 plays amongst the 2 long drives. Is that the offense's fault that this early in the game they can't stay energized? That they have to leave up another 13 play drive? Is it bad play defense call? Is it bad play? This is what pisses me off, because now you're getting into the out of hand part. You go from 10-7 to 18-7 or whatever it was, or 17-7, and then the Jets get a field goal, so they made it 10. So now you're 18-10. So the Jets offense is finally starting to keep them, trying to help out. And what does the defense do? So now we get to the second half, and this is what pissed me off, because the second half they did a stupid thing. They passed on the first play, then they got a negative 2-yard run and a penalty discount, and we all knew it. Right? As soon as that penalty happened to Mekhi back then on the false start, we already knew that series was over.
Yep.
So what happens? What now? You've had the intermission. You've had the intermission defense. You've had that time to chill. You had a 4 plays or whatever it is to relax a little bit before you had to get back on the field in the beginning of the second half. What do you think their next play is? A 13-drive, 55-yard field goal they give up. And they had only twice in that 13 plays did they ever allow get to the third down. So they gave up so many yards. They were 3rd and 14 and 3rd and goal, and they got a field goal. So the 3rd and goal is the only time they really did anything stopping, because they gave up the field goal. It's 3rd and goal. But what happened on a 3rd and 13? Aren't you supposed to stop those plays?
Yeah, absolutely.
What about those other?
It falls on the defensive coordinator, in my opinion. I mean,
or the defensive players not doing right.
Well, I know, I that's part of it, but I think the defensive coordinator, I think he's calling these same exact plays he tried to call last year, and he forgot there's a such thing as film.
But
these they know it. They carved us up. They carved the New York Jets up just by running. I mean, the amount of times they were just able to just third and, like you keep saying, third and whatever, and they just throw the ball. There's no pressure, and we're not covering guys. We're obviously in the wrong scheme.
You also said there's not tackling.
So that's a huge part of it.
So now the Jets, I get it. The fumble causes 3. This is what I also have. The turnovers. The Jets gave up 3 turnovers, a fumble and 3 interceptions. A total of 6 points came off of that.
Yep.
So it's not the turnovers killed us in the game. I mean, it hurt momentum, it hurt opportunities. But what about the start of the game touchdown? The Jets get a touchdown. What do? You give up a touchdown, or two field goals on things. What about 3 field goals with after the Jets got a 3-and-out? I mean, they played well enough to keep them the field goals, but you can't blame Zach Wilson and everything. It's not Zach Wilson's fault the offensive line can't block a nosebleed. It's not Zach Wilson's fault the play calling and deciding to do 3 consecutive runs with Dalvin Cook, and the guy can't get the first down on the third down when he's at 3rd and 1. It's not his fault. And it's not his fault that Breece Hall can't catch. It's not his fault. I mean,
I don't even know how many drop passes we have, but that was ridiculous too.
What bothers me is everybody wants to put the blame on Zach Wilson. This is the team. No. Defense has got to look at themselves, because they should have done their job. You don't have 15 play drives. Well, you know what? Offenses get in rhythm when they're allowed on the field. So maybe if the defense get themselves off the field at the beginning of the game, maybe the offense would have had more time to get a rhythm going. Maybe Hackett would have had an opportunity to figure out the right plays to play instead of waiting a half hour, 15 minutes every series for you guys to get off the field because you can't stop a goddamn nosebleed and can't stop a team on 3rd down, or don't know how to tackle, or you do a shoulder tackle. So this is what I have a problem with. Now you have Breece Hall complaining about his 4 touches. Hey, Breece Hall, how about you had 6 opportunities to touch the ball? You got 9 yards. That was on 1 play. What are they going to start doing when the team starts going at it, when the game's getting out of hand? You're not going to start running the ball. Maybe if you, after that 9-yard run, you would have done something with the other runs, but instead you got stuffed. Now that's not all your fault. Offensive line, AVT.
Well, that was the thing we talked about before the season started. The O-line is, to me, was the wild card. And so far, they're proven they're not very good.
And what also bothers me, I do have some things with the constant flags, the bad calls, the missed call and a face mask on the fumble of Dalvin Cook,
Yep.
if you watch the replay, he got his face mask pulled. That gets missed. To me, you could say whatever you want. I joked around. I sent that image to you that showed the refs looking like they're wearing like Dallas uniforms on a meme thing during the game. But to me, you can't put the blame completely on Zach Wilson. And I'm not trying to be an apologist for him. I'm just trying to be reality. Is that he should have done better, but he was doing enough to keep us in the game in the first half when you're down 10-7 now. And what do? They let up a huge touchdown. That is not Zach Wilson's fault. Why? Because they did it in one play instead of 5. Now all of a sudden you're tired, or 10 plays. Maybe the Jets should have just held off on that touchdown and try to mosey on down the field to give the defense a break. But I thought that was the benefit of having 17 different defensive linemen to give them a breather to rush the ball. The only ones that might have been out of breath might have been the defensive backs, which we did lose. MC, we did lose Adams, Tony Adams, a good safety. It's just a compilation, but to put it all on the Jet fans, to put it on one person's shoulders is what bothers me.
Yeah, but that's what they're going to do. They're going to look for a scapegoat, and we all know. Listen, no Jet fans, especially after Aaron Rodgers came, most Jet fans said, "Why are we still keeping Zach Wilson? Let's get rid of him, and get another backup quarterback." So they're just they listen. Most of us assumed we were going to lose yesterday. I assumed we were going to lose. I was because what'd you discuss? We discussed that they were going to go 3-3. Hopefully.
Yeah.
And that was with Rodgers. So, I mean, we figured they were going to lose to Dallas in Dallas. And they're looking for a scapegoat. They don't like Zach Wilson. They don't want Zach Wilson on the team. And it's a typical New York thing. We talked about it with the Yankees, with Gallo and with Hicks. And that's what the New York and New Jersey football fans are doing. They're done with Zach Wilson. They don't want him. They don't like him. They don't want him. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just telling you that they're done with him.
And you know what it is? But they're done with anybody after they have one bad game, unless they're the backup quarterback who comes in and has 3 games in a row that's good, but then he has the worst games ever. And they say, we'll give him a second chance. There are people still trying to get from Mike White. Now, Mike White was the third string quarterback who had a series of decent games last year, but he is a third string for a reason. He is Miami's backup for a reason. Why do you think no team really went for him after those games, to think that he can run their franchise? The reality is that there's nobody in the open market that they can get. And if you're going to go for a trade, you're going to go trade Peter to pay Paul. It's a dumb thing to do.
Well, let's talk about that, because you say there's nobody in the open market. Okay, Zach Wilson is not ready to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. I'm sorry, he's not. He's doing the best he can, but he's not ready yet. So what I look at it as, what's worse, Zach Wilson or somebody who's up there in age that's not playing for another team?
So who? You're going to put Matt Ryan in, who's a statue, again, behind this offensive line?
No, but I'm saying I don't know who's there. I'm just saying I'm asking because you know more. You follow more about the players in the NFL. There's got to be something.
They're saying Foles, who's played on multiple teams after winning the Super Bowl with Philadelphia and never became anything more than that. Now, there are some quarterbacks, I would say, that are on other teams, maybe that might be interested. And I say I have no problems. Let's play these first 3 games. We still have games against New England. This is the weekend that really tested it. The Jets win this game. They're 2-1. They're 2-0 in the division. And New England's a beatable team. They're 0-2. They're a beatable team. That's a team your defense can dominate, your run game can dominate, and you can move forward. Then they have the Eagles, KC, and Denver. You're telling me Denver is anything to get worried, to get overly nervous about? Yeah, they had a big throw from Wilson occasionally here and there, but they're not a team that I'm scared of. So if they can get through this 2-4, 3-3, that's pretty much what everybody anticipated anyway. Everybody was saying, based on this murderous row kind of game, that if the only wins you could almost count on would have been New England, which is a team they haven't beaten in 7 years, or and Denver. So you have Buffalo, everybody expected them to lose. Dallas, pretty much everybody expected them to lose. Everybody's expecting to lose to the Eagles, and everybody's expecting to lose to KC. So what difference are you expecting? It's just because Rodgers is going to lead it, but you still expected those losses? So to me, go into the bye week. I see what you have. Has Zach progressed enough to be a viable quarterback going forward? Do you need a veteran to push him a little bit? And is there someone, because the trade deadline's the week after the bye week that the Jets have, which is week 7. Do you sit there and go, all right, is there a viable quarterback? Is maybe, and I'm not a fan of it because the guy turned us down the first time back about 4 or 5 years ago, but maybe if Minnesota continues to lose and they're 0-2, and they start continuing losing, do you make a push to get Kirk Cousins as a with on the team? Mister, I can't play in prime time, but you know what? I'll get us to the playoffs. You put him in the team. Okay, maybe that's a viable thing because he's only it's only for this year because he's up for free agency next year. So you still have Rodgers coming back, and you can make a run for the playoffs. That's a possibility. But who else are you going to go for? Gardner Minshew? Are you
Yeah,
going to go
I'm
back?
just
Are you going to go? Are you going to call up San Francisco and say, "Hey, can we get Sam Darnold?" Are
you
you
know
going
when
to?
I
Are you?
when I look at the standings, I'm looking at it. So you got the Broncos that are 0-2 who we play. We got the Patriots that are 0-2 and the Chiefs that are 1-1. The Chiefs to me they're absolutely must wins against the Patriots and Denver. For us the season to have any success going forward, you need to win those two. And then if you somehow can pull out against Mahomes like you did against Buffalo, I think you're in
Which
the
I think
right
is
spot.
plausible,
Right,
and I'll
but
say
here's
why I
the
think
thing
it's
though,
plausible.
we could do that, and I think we're kind of lucky that we got the Patriots and the what do we? Let's see, we play Denver at Denver. That's a problem. We play KC at home, and we play New England at home. So at least they're home
And don't
games.
forget Phillies in that mix. I think
Well,
they're
Philly's
also
after Denver.
yeah.
I'm assuming Philly's a loss.
So
So
Philly's the only 100% in my mind guaranteed loss. The reason why I say Casey is not as much is because Casey doesn't really have a great defense. Now they got Jones back, which can make a big issue for the pass pressure. But if the Jets defense is as elite as they are, and they say they are, we're a the top defense. Then you know what? You should be able to shut down Mahomes, who only literally has Kelsey. They
well,
don't
they
have a
showed
top
that they
right running
couldn't shut
back.
down Dak, and it's I don't. I'm not saying
Oh,
Dak's not horrible, but he's not. He's not.
but I think Dak has better weapons. I will put Dak has better
Okay,
weapons
that's
this
fine. But I'm
season.
saying, before the season started, I had the Jets' top five defense, if not the best defense in the NFL.
Then you
And
need
right
to
now,
then
they're
you need to
playing
make
like they're the bottom, 50% of the league in defense. And so something needs to change. Salas needs to have a serious heart to heart with his defense and with his defensive coordinator. They're not playing up to the hype because I
it,
honestly believe even if we still had Aaron Rodgers and our defense played like they playing now, he might have gotten hurt some other time, or we would be in the same situation being 1-1 right now.
we would definitely. After this game and seeing how Micah Parsons, I think we would still be 1-1. Maybe all right, maybe not just because of the fact if he would have done similar and kept it to 10-7, maybe the 18-10 going into the second half, maybe we had a good chance. Who knows? But my thing is that we didn't lose because of Zach Wilson's. We lost because our running game couldn't do anything, our offensive lineman couldn't block, and our defense couldn't stop a nosebleed for a series for every other series pretty much because it looked like pretty much they let a 15 play game every other series against Dallas. So we can blame anything else. If that is that the defense coordinator Albright making bad decisions, is it their maybe the defensive call wasn't the perfect calls for those things? Is it because of the tackles because we saw them, or is it could be we didn't have that interception pick six by Sauce? We had bad calls against us against Franklin Myers.
I'm
You know
sorry,
when
but
he
yeah, the bad calls. I understand the whole protect the quarterback thing, but if you really look at that replay, he was already in motion he was literally like off his feet, diving to tackle the guy, and then he released the ball, and then he hit the quarterback. I don't know. I hate that rule because
it's not the timing of when he hit it. The rule is about where he hit him lower. See, the thing is that he hit him in the lower part of the body, and that's where they're
yeah,
trying
but
to
he hit him
protect him.
above the knee.
But that's too low. You want him at the waist. So
God,
that's
that
the
dude.
issue.
Then NFL's getting soft.
It's the
I'm
Brady rule.
sorry, it's soft because these guys. You see every other person on the field is getting hit hard everywhere.
It's the Brady rule when Brady messed up his
Fuck
knee back
Brady.
in
Don't
2008.
fuck Brady.
I know that. But the reality is, I mean, it's certain rules. I would say I could understand, and I was trying to explain it to friends of mine yesterday when we were texting that was Clemens's sack of Dak that ended up being a personal foul because he he landed on top of him and put his full weight on him. And that's why it was a foul. If you watch Micah Parsons, when he was sacking Zach, he would grab him and roll to the side. So when he went to the ground, his whole body was not on Zach. There was a few of those like kind of plays, kind of tackles. But
Yeah.
when Clemens went on top of him, I knew off the bat that's legit play because they don't want defenders.
All I know is right now, if you took this rule that they have these protect the Brady rule as you call it, or as it's referred to, and you put it back when we were kids and we had the sack exchange. I wonder how many of those would have been penalties.
Oh, half of them.
Yeah, because football's gotten soft because you got to protect the players because they're a bunch of I don't want to say it, but you know what I'm saying. They're a bunch of cats. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? It's like they're making multi millions of dollars. Take a hit. Take a hit.
My career could be over. Like the only ones I do
I don't care if your
understand is
career could be over. You're here to play a game.
no, no.
And you
Well,
play. You're
you
making
play with
millions of
that risk.
dollars, guaranteed money.
You play with that risk. But I will say the only position I get the concern is running backs because their timeline in the NFL is so much shorter. When a running back gets hurt, if they're not the top dog when they get hurt, like right now, you have to deal with J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins just tore his ACL for Baltimore. Now that guy is supposed to be up for a contract next year. He's supposed to be a free agent. Who is he going to get the same money? Running backs are already getting low money. He's not going to get money. He was on his
No.
first rookie deal. This is where I say rookie running back contract should be 2 to 3 years. And you know what? Allow the running backs to hit the open market more open because by the time after the fourth or fifth year, especially if they're first round pick and they get a fifth year, they're already being pushed out the door a little bit.
Yeah, but
You
that's on
know,
the NFL Players Association, and they got to negotiate that, and they got to protect their running backs. I mean, that's what they negotiated, and they also,
well,
all these dumb rules to protect quarterbacks. I get
well,
it, quarterbacks aren't a dime a dozen like a lot of running backs might be, but it's not football. It's kind of like how I feel about hockey. Hockey is a fast paced game, but they took out some of the fun of hockey with the fights. They still happen, but they're nowhere near like you don't
well.
have thugs.
There's no goons. That's what
Yeah,
hockey
you
did.
don't have thugs.
You have to be in order. You have tough guys that I'll just have Matt Martin, who's willing to throw it down with anybody and will do it to protect his player. But he actually plays as part of the fourth line. It's not this guy that sits on the bench for most of the game, and we're going to throw you out there a few series, but we're really just going to throw out there to throw your elbows around and get a fight. That time is gone in the NHL. But getting back to like football, my thing is with running backs is the ones that are easily bouncing out are the ones that are one dimensional beasts, except for someone like Henry. Because running backs can't, not many running backs do the three downs. They're the first down, two down, second down kind of running back, which is your runner, and then you bring in a third down specialist. There's very few running backs in the NFL right now that can do three downs, and you want them in the game for all three downs. And the top dog for that is McCaffrey. He is the only running back in the NFL, in my opinion, that's worth every single dime because Brock Purdy is not an elite quarterback, but that team has already been picked since the beginning of the year with no elite quarterback to be a Super Bowl contender. They were still being considered a Super Bowl contender when it was possibility that Trey Lance or Sam Darnold might have been the quarterback if Purdy's arm wasn't ready, or I think it's his arm, whatever was hurt on him wasn't ready until then. So to me, you need that special player, which is and that's why I feel bad for Giant fans because that's what Saquon Barkley was supposed to be, but that guy can't stay healthy at all.
Yeah, well, the Giants. I guess as a Jet fan right now, we can't say much about the Giants, but I don't know. But I'm frustrated because, and I think a lot of Jets fans are frustrated because our expectations were extremely high this year. Obviously, done at 4 plays in. The expectations got shattered, and everybody's like, "Oh, same old Jets." And I think that's why they didn't like Zach. They know what they got from Zach Wilson last year. So
I think it comes down to the ceiling was lowered and the floor was lowered, and that's what hurts them the most. The idea with Rodgers is that you could weather these kind of games, and Jeff fans would be like, "Well, we still got the rest of the season though." It's the weirdness. If Rodgers would have had that same game, 3 interceptions, trying to get the touch, trying to get us back in the game, couldn't get the ball moving, whatever it may be. You said it before, we'd still be 1-1. But with Rodgers, everybody leaves that game and going, you know what? That's a hiccup on the road. You know what? Let's get back and let's get ready for New England. We're probably going to lose that game anyway because it's in Dallas. Let's look forward to the rest of the games. Let's just get through these first 6 games 3-3. That's what most people would say. If Aaron Rodgers would have had the exact same game with 3 interceptions, that's exactly what would still be said.
right,
Because
but I wonder
of the
how
history.
much of the defense playing like shit is these guys protecting themselves. That they've said to themselves, the season is not. We're going to be even if we make the playoffs, we don't have the team right now. We don't have the quarterback right now to win in the playoffs. So I'm not going to put my body at risk. I'm not going to try to make those extra plays I might have made if Aaron Rodgers was still there. And so now they're not playing 100%. They're playing good football, but they're
So
not
they're
playing great
embarrassing
football.
themselves. So in essence, you're saying that because Rodgers is not, they're willing to embarrass themselves,
Yeah,
because that's what I'm hearing.
yeah.
Because
Well, they're trying to do it so that it doesn't make it obvious, but they're not. The
382
tackling,
yards of
tackling's weak.
offense
They're
let
not
up,
willing
they
to put
dominate.
themselves in harm's way for a season that, in their own minds, is not what they expected.
Well, then you know what? Those players need to go. Then the culture is not what it was. Seemed like we saw in Hard Knocks and One Jets Drive, because that's for me is that then you're frauds. I love Don LaGreca's favorite thing: frauds. They're frauds. When he usually talks about any Yankee fan that has a jersey with the name on the back, that's a fraud. In my opinion, this is a fraud of a player. If you're going to say there because you're gonna be less effective, or you're gonna take a slight step off
Yep.
because your season's done because you didn't have this quarterback, then you know what? All that shit talking you did during the preseason was bullshit,
Well, Brian,
because
you
you're
said it
not a
before.
future
You
star.
said it before that with Sauce deleting his Twitter, they're soft. They're weak. They can't take they can talk the talk, but they can't walk the walk. And
Mhm.
I want you. I'm asking you honestly. Do you think it's possible that there are certain guys on this team that are not bought in as much anymore and are saying, you know what, I'm going to protect me. I'm going to protect my brand. I'm going to play as well as I can play, but I'm not going to put myself out there any extra that I might have done if Aaron Rodgers was still there.
Um, from me watching it, no, I don't see that. Watching Sauce Gardner still putting a shoulder in the guy in the in the late in the game, trying to knock him out. DJ Reed just had a difficult game. I just think it as people just had a difficult game, and it starts from the very beginning. You can't blame and say this is Aaron Rodgers when the very first series you gave up a 14 play, the first time in 15 games, a 14 play first drive
Yep.
touchdown,
Yep.
and you want to sit there and blame it on the Rodgers? I thought you guys
You
were
mean on
excited.
Wilson? You mean on Wilson, not Rodgers?
Blame it on Wills. No, blame it on the fact that we don't have
Oh,
Rodgers is what I
oh, I
meant.
got you. I got you.
Yeah,
Okay.
but my thing is, so then that excitement you had at the week one didn't carry over, or were you too hungover on that celebration, and you thought it was going to start coming easy to you as a defense? That's what I think has happened. I think they thought their defense was going to be easier because they're leaning on each other, and it didn't work out that way. Now, there's
How
many
could you
reasons,
think that going in to play Dallas that beat the Giants 40-0?
because it's the Giants
It
and
doesn't
Dallas
matter.
necessarily.
It
But
doesn't
Dallas,
matter. I mean, the
I'm going to
Giants
tell you
looked
right
better
now,
yesterday.
I still don't think Dallas is going to be that great, because to me, they just have a history of always falling apart. And they're still going to lose in the first or second round of the playoffs if they make it in, which they should, because the NFC is weak. But the reality is that game is different without Micah Parsons. That game is different without Micah Parsons.
Well, okay, if that's the case, then you got one guy and we didn't do shit to stop him. We didn't. It didn't
Correct.
even look like we tried.
Correct. But that's an elite potential MVP player. That's the same thing that Khalil Mack was a number of years ago, when literally when he left um, um, Oakland, when they were still in Oakland, the Raiders, and he went to the Bears. He was like traded for multiple picks, huge trade, big thing. Gruden did this trade. He literally was a defensive stud for the Bears, who had a pathetic team, but they still became competitive because this one guy was there, and his name is Khalil Mack. He had an ultra out of this world season. It's the same thing when you look at LA Rams over the last few years, prior to him thinking about retirement and prior to him winning the Super Bowl a little bit. When you looked at Aaron Darnold, everybody looked at him and go, you know what? This guy can change the game. There are certain, Micah Parsons, and I hate to say this, Micah Parsons is in the same level as Aaron Donald in terms of game changer. Is the same level as Khalil Mack. He's this year's game changer, where you look at him and go, he's this year's LT style kind of player, where he changes the way your offense runs, because now that he goes in the middle, when he goes on the outside, he can go on the right or the left or up the gut and still be effective. It's literally Micah Parsons show. Name another defender that you really worried about the entire game, who you heard
No,
their
I
name.
know, but then where was the change in game? Where was the change in coverage on who and assignments on who's going to block him? Because I
The
didn't see
problem,
him. If you look back at the tape, and I should go back and watch some of it. How often did they double team him? How often did they put guys on him? I don't think they did. It's like they had
Uh,
this is our
I don't.
our
It
offense is
comes
what
down
we're
to
gonna
they didn't
do.
know where he was coming. One of the first sacks, the very first sack he had, he started on the outside, made contact with the defensive lineman, and literally looped around the center and the guard, looped around the back of them so fast, and came up the gut and just slammed Wilson to the ground and did his crawl across the ground. Then he came up. Then he did another. His one
Well,
of his
that's
other touches on
some of that
baseball.
right. Some of that is Wilson's fault because he has to know also that at that point, especially in the second half, you got to know this guy's coming, and
That was the first.
you
That
know
was the
we need a
one.
lot
That
more
was
checkdowns, and you need to get rid of the ball.
dude. That was one of the first series when he got that sack.
No, I
That was like the
understand
first
that,
or second
but
series.
that should be he. In other words, the pressure he was putting on, I don't. It didn't look like the Jets had a counter for it or even attempted at a counter for it.
But no,
And Wilson needs to get
watch
rid of the ball quicker.
watch the third play of the Jets' first possession. There is nothing you could do to
No, I
that.
get that, Bry, but that doesn't explain the rest of the game. You don't know what
It
you're going to
does
get
because
at the beginning of the game.
Mika Parsons literally just manhandled AVT, who was a Pro Bowler. He's just an otherworldly and stopped Brees Hall in the back of the field. It's just the certain special players that it's very
I
hard to game
understand that,
plan.
but you have to make an attempt to stop it, and later on in the game, excuse me, they didn't. They didn't make
Well,
an.
I
I
will
don't
give
think
you
they
this.
did what they needed to do to
Well, they
even
didn't.
attempt.
First off, their best blocking tight end, which is a second-year player, Ruckert out of Long Island, Lindenhurst, he played 4 snaps or something like that. So to me, that's where the offense and Hackett should have made adjustments for the second half. You said, you know what? We need to give time instead of doing these wides. We're down. We're literally down a touchdown.
Yep.
Why are we not setting ourselves up to get a rhythm going in the second half with Brees Hall, with Dalvin Cook by putting in 2 tight ends, or at least Ruckert on one side, giving extra help for Brown on the outside of the left side, which was he looked like an open doorway as a veteran tackle. So to me, that's something they should have done. But again, I digress. Let's wait until next week. Let's see what happens against New England. If they get embarrassed by New England, then there is going to be things I want to see happen. And whether or not that means trading away players and just saying, you know what, well, we have Rodgers coming back, so we're not going to do that because everybody's understanding Rodgers is going to come back. But it's going to be an issue for me. It's going to be an issue if they can't. If I think the big question about is whether or not how well they play against New England. Can they end up 2-0 in the division? Can they end up 2-1 going into the game against who is it? Right after that is the Chiefs, then the Broncos and Eagles. If you can beat the Patriots, lose to the Chiefs, now you're 2-2. Then you go beat the Broncos or something like that. That's 3-2. So you're playing that constant flip-flop home run games. But then you look at your second half of your schedule. And this is why I'm saying if we can get through these first 6 games, I'm not overly concerned. You have the Giants, you have the Chargers, the Raiders, the Bills, which we already beat once, the Dolphins, which look good, but they always tail off in the second half of the season. They look
Yep.
great in the beginning. That's the normal thing. The Falcons, which don't look great. The Houston Texans, which don't look great. The Commanders, which don't look great. The Browns, which are on tonight against Pittsburgh, who hasn't looked good. And they're okay, just scored a touchdown. And you have the Patriots. It's not that bad in the second half to try to run this team with Zach Wilson going forward. So to me, I want to see what happens.
Yeah, I think the New England game is going to be a big indicator of where the season ends up.
If the Jets win, you're going to hear the same Jet fans that are crying out, Zach Wilson could throw 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. You'll hear the ones that are just negative about him and just be like, I still got to get rid of him. Imagine we'd be 3-0 if we had him. Didn't have him. Rodgers would be 3-0.
We'll have to wait and see what happens.
Sorry. I had to vent. I had to vent.
Okay. All right. So let me ask you. Let me change gears a little bit. Did you watch the Colorado State game at all?
I saw the second half of it mostly. As soon as I started seeing that it was it was not going the way that Prime was thinking it was going to be.
Yep.
I will say, obviously, you saw Hunter going down was a huge loss. You lost shot. You lost your number one corner and your number one offensive weapon, both the same player. You have to make up 120 snaps with him going down.
Yep.
In Prime's eyes. So to me, I would say a little disappointed in the game.
I kind of expected it, to be honest, and here's why. I think Deion Sanders and his kids, Shiloh and what is it, Sador?
Shador.
Shador. They are built for the hype. They are built for the limelight. They are built for the big moments. I think you have a lot of players on Colorado that can't handle the hype yet. They've never had this type of hype before. And I think they bought into the hype, which is why they constantly come out the last two games they've come out slow. And I think they're drinking their own Kool-Aid, and that's causing them to not play to their potential. That's my opinion. I mean, again, just like what we saw with the Jets, the Colorado State was just they had that one receiver that was just they would just throw into him over the middle, over the middle, over the middle. They were slicing and dicing the defense on Colorado all game long, and it's
Hmm.
a miracle they won because I was at some point going, "Wow, Dion's going to lose this game, and that's not good." But I mean, obviously, Sanders came back and played. He's just a phenomenal quarterback, and said, "You know what? I'll do this on my own," and he did it. But the defense was horrible. And then I also think I don't know if it's coaches that did this, but I actually believe that Colorado State was targeting players during that game. I believe
Okay.
they were cheap. They were playing cheap, and I believe, and yeah, the amount of personal fouls and everything else. I believe they were targeting players.
That very well could be when you open your mouth. But I will say, you can say that you were surprised about the defense, but I'm not when they let up 42 against TCU just because they had a decent game and
Yeah, but this was
defensively against
Colorado State.
Nebraska.
This wasn't TCU.
But it doesn't matter. So this even makes it worse. Like you're saying, well, they have, you're a little surprised at the defense. I'm not. They had one good game against Nebraska. They let up 14. So to me, now you're hitting the schedule. These are the two games coming up, Oregon and USC. These are the games that matter. You should have beaten Colorado State if you're talking all that stuff and you're saying how good you are. You should have
Right,
beaten them.
and they
You
should have
should
beat
have
them
beaten them
handily.
handily.
Yeah, they should
To
have beat them by
me,
a lot.
that's
I think the
embarrassing on
points.
your home turf.
I think Colorado was favored by like 21 and a half. I was playing cards with a bunch of guys on their Friday night, and they were talking about it. Colorado was favored by 21 and a half, and I
Yeah.
said take Colorado State. There was no way they were covering. I did say that I did tell them I thought the over. They were like, oh, the over under was like 62 and a half. I'm like, yeah, that'll happen. I said, but there's no way Colorado wins this game by 21 and a half. I
No.
just didn't. I just thought the hype was going to catch up, and I think it did.
And now you have at Oregon and you
Yep.
have home against USC in the next two games. This is where we start. This is the heart of the schedule, where part of the schedule for the non-conference games, where you start looking at, even though those are conference games, where you start looking at whether or not. I say it's non-conference because that's usually when Notre Dame will play non-con. Well, they always play non-conference, but like that. That's where they'll play a team that's playing a non-conference kind of against them. And you know, this is where, just like Notre Dame's 3-0. I will not count them as being a perennial
Isn't
possibility
Notre
for
Dame
the
4-0?
They are no. Wait, let me see it.
I think they're 4
Everybody's
zero.
schedule's a little off. They could be 4-0 right now. Let's see. They Navy. They just beat. Well, they have a bye coming up, so I'm trying to remember. Yeah, they're 4-0. So CMU, Navy. Okay, so yeah, they're 4-0, but their fifth game is against Ohio State. So at home against Ohio State, you beat that game, you win that game. And then you have Duke, and then you have Louisville, and then you have USC. You go through that string, and you go up to USC, and you're undefeated. Um, you really going to put everybody in notice. You beat Ohio State, you're going to put everybody in notice. I
Yeah.
mean, we both right now. You're Colorado State because you've adopted them as your college team for the season,
Yep.
and me for Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish. This is the game that says it. If Notre Dame can beat Ohio State at home and Colorado can beat Oregon on the road, you can start sitting there and start. Colorado's real for the Pac-12. Let's see how they do against USC, which is ranked number 5 right now, the following week, and let's see how Notre Dame does. So I'm hoping, honestly, USC is undefeated by the time Notre Dame gets them. If Notre Dame's undefeated, I'd love to see that matchup because right there, Notre Dame can Notre Dame can lose to Ohio State if they beat USC because right there that a one-loss Notre Dame to Ohio State is not unfathomable, or one-loss team to USC for Notre Dame is not a thing that's going to keep them out of college football playoff if they beat the other because they're both right now higher ranked. So this is going to be interesting going forward.
Yeah, I guess we'll wait and see what happens. Right
What
now
is
we got
Colorado ranked right now? Colorado is
they were
ranked
18th before the game. I
like
don't know what they are now.
they dropped because of that game, they dropped to 19th. They were 17th in the CBA. Oh wait, that's let's go to AP. So they are 19th. They dropped one.
Yep, because they were 18. They were 18 for the last 2 weeks. Before the Nebraska game,
In
they
the
were.
coaches poll, they are currently in the coaches poll. They are at 19th. They moved up two in the coaches poll, and the FCC. That's different. So, they got. I mean, if they can beat Oregon, who's ranked number 10 right now, and then they can go the following week and compete against Mr. Heisman winner or Heisman winner, potential Heisman two-time winner, Caleb Williams, and don't have to win that game. You'll gain a lot of respect by being Oregon and then competing against that. And that's where Shedeur can put himself in the Heisman candidate case by gun for gun with Caleb Williams.
Yeah,
And that's the
well,
same thing I say about that I'll say about Hartman. If it comes down to it, Hartman and Caleb Williams are having a shootout, that's where Hartman can put himself in that Heisman case too.
yeah, I'm
So
on a week by week basis with Colorado. I'm hoping they do extremely well, but I'm realistic that you know they. I mean, Sanders said Dion said it himself. They're about 5 or 6 guys short of
I
being
heard
where
him
he
say
wants to
seven
be.
or eight dogs. That's what he said.
Yeah,
Like I remember
yeah, 7 or 8
7 or 8
dogs.
dogs short.
Yeah, which doesn't help his players that are out there now, but it is what
Well,
it is.
but that's the beauty about college because you can say that and you're looking at future every year you're looking at future recruiting and that's why I love it because you have 25% of your roster going away because they're graduating unless they're fifth year seniors or something like that or grad students that have eligibility left. You're losing a good percentage of your roster every year. So you have to replace those dogs. And you know what? That's what every coach says. Freeman said the same thing when he took over Notre Dame. It's going to take a few years to get the recruits that he wants, the kind of players he's looking for. The thing is that's I think made people kind of shocked with Sanders is that he got a lot of recruits this year through the transfer portal or through commitments like Hunter to where he got guys that were top notch that were already dedicated to someone else because of that posturing he did and
Well,
that speaking.
he's gonna get even more next year. He's gonna get more transfer portal guys next year, for sure.
Possibly
No,
this kind of
absolutely.
this braggadocious.
Just because he's putting his guys on the map, and these guys wanted the guys that want to go to the NFL are going to want to come and play for the guy that's giving them the most exposure.
Correct in one way, but if this team flattens out to 5-5 or 5-7 or doesn't win another game because now they have two games and they end up 3-2 and then they're looking at a losing streak, you're going to start sitting there. That braggadocious he had is going to start looking okay. He's got to do well. He's got to end up over 500 and he can't be embarrassed by Oregon or USC. He can have competitive games in order for people to say, you know what? All right, maybe this guy's got something because it could be braggadocious. And people are just going to sit there and go, you know what? Maybe not. I'll just go with the more solid guy in Georgia or the solid guy in Alabama that pushes people to the pros, that makes them pros. You know what I mean? Or I'll go to Ohio State that will push out the pros. There are other teams, LSU, even though it's Brian Kelly. Ugh. So
Yeah, I guess we just got to wait and see what happens with the Jets against New England, and then see what happens this weekend with Colorado.
yeah, and your game's at what time
I don't even know. I haven't even
for
looked.
Colorado? It was at week 4. Technically, it's Notre Dame's at 7:30 at night, and Colorado's at 3:30 p.m.
Thank God,
ABC.
because this last week game at 10 p.m. was freaking. I'm up till 2 in the morning watching this game. 3 in the morning. It's like this is ridiculous.
Well, it's 12:30 theirs. It's in Oregon at 12:30, which is a normal college football time. Prime time for Notre Dame, they're in the 7:30 slot. So on NBC.
Yep.
So you know what I'll be doing Saturday night.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Be watching
Actually,
my
I'm coming up your way this on Sunday.
What do you mean?
I'm coming. I'm flying. Oh, I'm waiting for my work to finalize everything, but I'll be flying up Sunday, and then I'm leaving on Tuesday.
Could you tell your work that you changed your name to Brian and they can give me a free flight to Louisville and Vegas, kind of thing, and say it's a
problem is I don't oversee Louisville or Vegas.
Damn
So
it.
yeah, we don't even have a location in Louisville. We have one in Vegas.
Or maybe just give me your license and I can pass off of you a little bit.
Yeah, I'm coming up because I got to do some work up in White Plains and in Teterboro and in Morristown. So
And that's on Sunday?
Yeah, I'm trying to get him to fly me out Sunday so that I can have all day Monday, most of the day Tuesday, and fly home on Tuesday. I'm really efficient when I do this stuff. I just go in, do my stuff, and get out as quickly as
Okay.
possible. All right, brother. So we'll see what happens. We'll get together either later this week or after this weekend's games, and we'll see where we are.
All right, brother.
All right. I'll peace out.
Peace.